Alright, so bear with me here, because I'm going to tell you something shocking, something mind-blowing, something not many people can handle. So bear with me. The Nintendo Switch, yes, the Nintendo Switch, does not, I repeat, does not have a pack-in title. Yes, you heard it here first, and don't go saying stuff like that around Nintendo. Believe me, you'll regret it. Perfect start to the new year. Let's whine about Nintendo. The Nintendo Switch is entering its 5th year on the market, which is absolutely insane. It's really hard to believe when you think about it, especially when it's still getting the same levels of support as it did when it first launched. It's crazy. It already has basically an endless library of great third-party and indie titles, and while that definitely implies most of the Switch's game library is pretty good, not all of them can be winners. Except for the calculator. This one's alright. I love the Switch's third-party support. It introduced me to so many games that I wouldn't have played otherwise, and the portability factor of the Switch is also pretty cool to have with these games as well. But I'm definitely not disregarding the first-party support either. I just wanted to shed some light on the work of other non-Nintendo developers have worked on, so keep up the good work. But the first-party support is easily great, definitely on par with systems like the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo GameCube. Super Mario Odyssey, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Metroid Dread, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Oh yeah, and Luigi's Mansion 3. Now we could argue what Switch game is the best, but I'm not doing that today because I'm gonna whine about something that isn't even true. The Nintendo Switch's pack-in title. Now before we jump to conclusions down in the comments, yes, I know the base Nintendo Switch system when it launched never had a pack-in title. I understand. And I am also aware of the numerous Switch bundles that does include a game. I am aware of that as well. But I kinda want to disregard any kind of third-party or indie title, not because I think they're bad or anything. They were all developed by very, very talented people, and I 100% enjoy what they've made, so please don't think I'm hating on anyone or what they made or anything. I just think because we're going to be talking about pack-in titles, I kinda want to keep this discussion about first-party games only. Again, I'm not hating on any third-party or indie developer though. But basically, if you don't know what pack-in titles are, they were games that come included with the console. They could be for a console's launch or a special bundle. You can't really go wrong with getting a free game with your brand new game console. So many systems have them, including Nintendo with their Wii console, the Wii U, even their 2DS systems. But somewhat bizarrely, the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo's most recent gaming platform, never had a pack-in title when it launched. It had launched titles, but never any pack-in title that came with the system. Nintendo would eventually release limited-time Switch bundles with download codes for the system like the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe bundle they do for Black Friday every year, and I believe they also did one for Mario Tennis Aces and 1-2 Switch a while back as well. There were even points where they would release a special Nintendo Switch bundle to tie in with the specific game's release, but never included the actual game it's based on like the one they did for Animal Crossing New Horizons release. But none of these are permanent, which isn't really what I'm referring to. I'm referring to permanent Switch bundles with pack-in titles included. Now obviously, Nintendo doesn't need to have a pack-in title included with all future Nintendo Switches going forward, as the system is still selling like hotcakes. Those actually sound pretty good right now. But this is a $300 system, and you're definitely getting your money's worth with it if you're buying it because its game library is essentially endless, but if you're just buying the system without any game, it's kinda useless. And honestly, with just the system out of the box and no game, and considering the use of outdated hardware and specs even when it released, and you have a point where this should have been $250 max. Not only because it would be a fun throwback to the Wii days, let's be honest here, but also because it would be even easier to poke fun at Nintendo for not only charging $250 for that system when it came out, but also because it had a game included out of the box as well. And the Switch has none of that. So if anyone ever argues with you about how things were better back in 2006, compare the price of the Switch to the Nintendo Wii. That'll change everything. But I personally believe what Nintendo could do, despite being 5 years into the Switch's lifespan, is have all future Nintendo Switch systems come included with the pack-in title right out of the box, making its $300 retail price a little more justified. Yeah, the timing would be kinda weird, especially when we're slowly nearing the end of the Switch's lifespan here, but at least offer an incentive for people who haven't already jumped on the Switch bandwagon already. But I wouldn't be doing my job as a Nintendo fan if I didn't mention what launch titles would be included, because you can't have just any pack-in title. I mean, come on. I'm a Nintendo fan. Good pack-in titles needs to meet at least 3 requirements for them to truly be good in my eyes. And it just so happens that these 3 requirements also applies to launch titles as well. So that's a fun bit of info that has no business being in this video. Don't steal. Number 1. They need to do a good job showing off the technical capabilities of the system's unique features and hardware. Basically, what Wii Sports and Nintendo Land excelled at. 2. They need to be easily accessible. Like, not really RPGs or games with stories that has deep narratives. Think maybe platformers or party games or something. Just something that's easy to understand and play whether alone or in multiplayer. 3. Replayability. Okay, so maybe you can kind of make a bit of an exception with this one when it comes to certain pack-in titles, but I still feel one of the reasons why games like Wii Sports and Nintendo Land were as fine as they were was because they had a lot of replayability. So we went through our introduction, talked about the 3 attributes when talking about good pack-in titles / launch titles. Now we discuss which pack-in title would be good for the Nintendo Switch. Games like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Animal Crossing New Horizons are amazing games. They both have great replayability factors, and they're all one of the best looking games on Switch. But I don't know, I feel like good visuals just aren't enough to show off the technical capabilities of the Switch. Games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe would make a solid pack-in title. It's replayable, it's very accessible, but it doesn't really show off the unique capabilities of the Nintendo Switch aside from the graphics, which is exactly how the game looked on the Wii U. I'm not saying every Switch game needs to have that, but I feel if it's going to be a pack-in title, it needs to have these attributes to some degree. Now as for what I think your best bet for a good pack-in title should be, my mind immediately goes to 2 games, Super Mario Odyssey and 1-2 Switch. Both games do a good job showing off the technical capabilities of the Nintendo Switch and the Joy-Cons. 1-2 Switch with the minigames, and Mario Odyssey with how it uses the Joy-Cons capabilities. They're both highly accessible, and while 1-2 Switch doesn't have the best replayability as Wii Sports, despite me not actually owning the game. That should also be a contributing factor if I'm being honest. But easily, if I had to choose which one, I definitely believe Super Mario Odyssey is the superior title. I just think 1-2 Switch should be a pack-in title because Nintendo has the nerve to be selling this game for $50. I mean, yeah, Mario is $60 and 1-2 Switch is a better multiplayer game, but Odyssey just has more value considering its price. 1-2 Switch simply doesn't offer enough for its $50 price, and it does make a good introduction to get to understand what the Nintendo Switch's Joy-Cons are all about, but if I had to choose the Switch's permanent pack-in title 5 years after launch, I'm going with 1-2 Switch. And since we're already talking about it anyways, I might as well talk about the best pack-in titles for the Switch Lite and the Switch OLED despite owning neither. For the Switch Lite, the Link's Awakening remake, and the Switch OLED, Metroid Dread. Unsurprisingly, these are games that actually launched on the same day as their respective revisions, and they do a decent job showing off what these Switch revisions are best at doing, so can you blame me for choosing the games that launch with their respective revisions? But these are just my opinions. Just because I say these games should have been included with the Switch doesn't mean you should not buy the Switch or wait till it does end up getting a pack-in title, because there's a chance that may not actually happen. We're now 5 years in the Switch's lifespan, and for it to not actually have a pack-in title is rather insane. But don't think there's a specific game you have to get with the system either. I was just listing out games that I feel would be good for beginners to get a decent idea of what the Switch is all about. And if you have any other games that you feel would make better pack-in titles than what I listed, let me know. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions. Like, the opinion I'm entitled to is how I chose 1-2 Switch over Super Mario Odyssey as the Switch's permanent pack-in title. Which means now I can reveal my biggest secret. I hate Mario. And that's gonna wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider subscribing and checking out my other videos on my channel where you'll find more videos like this one. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.